Hello and good day, Welcome to the Super Good Camping Podcast. My name is Pamela.
I'm Tim.
And we are from supergoodcamping.com. We're here because we're on a mission to inspire other people to get outside and enjoy camping adventures such as we have as a family. Today's guest loves to adventure in the backcountry, being that he is also a mechanical engineer. He loves to design and build ultralight, ultra high strength gear for backcountry camping. Please welcome super nice, super smart Steve Evans of Sulik 46. Yay! Welcome.
Oh. Thank you very much. Well, that's a wonderful intro, and no stuttering. Like, you just nailed it right there.
She does this
That's
at least once a week for about 40 some odd weeks a year. So
yeah, you got it down pat. Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's good to see you guys.
Yeah,
it's always great to see you. So just to throw it out to the audience, we've run into Steve on occasion. We live in the same city. And usually we know that we've run into Steve because he yells out across, the lobby at Roy Thompson Hall, "Hey, super good camping."
I forgot about that.
Being that we live in the same city and we have similar
tastes. It's not surprising that he's there for it. It's just...
So this was at National Geographic Live, which was amazing. We were like, hey...
I forgot about that story. I have season's tickets for probably the last decade, and I usually meet my wife just outside in the lobby. It was after the show, right? Yeah, because you guys were going downstairs, probably take the subway or something. Like, wait, it's super good camping. And then I was like, if I just scream out Tim, no one's gonna know. He's not gonna turn his head around. So anyway,
well, I
made a scene.
And same deal up at Paddler Co-op, because apparently you said Tim, super good camping. What?
That's me.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that we've bumped into each other randomly numerous times in the single year.
Yeah, I totally expect to see you at the adventure shows and stuff like that, but not just in the middle of nowhere. Oh, yeah. So it's crazy stuff. So being that you're a mechanical engineer, how does that parlay into what you do for Sulik 46? Like, how did I understand that you need to be an engineer to make? I've seen all of your stuff. It's awesome. What made it you go, oh, well, I can make all this cool gear? Was it because you were doing ultralight stuff that would be happier to have ultralight gear, and you went, I can make a better one of those. I can do something, or maybe I can, whether it's the tent pegs or the saws or,
Yeah. So there's a little story that I can tell, sort of how it all started. So I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm licensed professional engineer in Ontario. And I kind of grew up in doing robotics and automation. After I graduated in around 1999, I kind of started mostly focused on nuclear tooling and automation for nuclear reactors. That's sort of what I did for, decades almost. And I grew up as a flatwater paddler with my dad, cut my teeth in the bush up in Killarney Provincial Park, used to go up there multiple times a year. And then he passed away when I was younger, in high school actually. And so then I continued, but for some reason, the internet wasn't super prevalent then. And I didn't really know about solo paddling. I didn't even know that was really a thing. I don't know how, I just didn't. And so I started backpacking in the early 2000s, except I had all canoeing gear. And at the time there was, a light tent would be probably 5 pounds, and a light sleeping bag would be 3 pounds. And you'd be backpacking with 80 pounds of gear kind of thing. And in the mid 2000s, I tried to do the La Cloche Silhouette Trail in Killarney Provincial Park. It was a dream of mine since I was younger. And I failed immediately on day 2. Actually, for those that know the trail, I went to go do it counterclockwise. I started at George Lake, and I had to bushwhack at Bell Lake Access Point 3 days later with not broken knees, but my knees are just killing me. And this is when I was young. This is 15 years ago. I was 32 years old. I was in phenomenal shape. And so then back then, forums were really popular. Not so much Facebook wasn't really big or whatever. So I joined a forum called Backpacking Light, and the guy that owns it, it's not a full website. His name's Ryan Jordan. And there was a section called Make Your Own Gear. And it was all these fanatical backpackers, people doing the Appalachian Trail, and they'd be on the trail for 3 months or 6 months doing the CDT or the PCT. Those are the big trails kind of down there. And I was like, you can sleep under a tarp that you like sew yourself sort of thing. And I put together like an ultralight kit where like all of your gear and stove and everything in your backpack would weigh like 8 pounds kind of thing. Like it would be it's very minimalistic. It's not super comfortable or anything. No chairs. And I went and, ripped the La Cloche Silhouette Trail in like 4 days. At the time, that was like pretty good. And then I started backpacking all these trails. And I don't even know if you guys know this, but I've backpacked every single multi-day backpacking trail in a provincial park in Ontario. It took me 7 years to complete the project. Yeah. And I actually started a book. Kevin Callan knows this, and so does Jeff from Jeff's Maps, because Jeff was going to do the maps for the book. This is going back years ago. And then, long story short, then I started getting into like a little bit more, like some more advanced stuff. I started traveling places like in the late 2000s, and I was going to Nepal I used to climb a lot. I think I was going in 2006 or 2007, and I wanted a lightweight ice axe, and there wasn't really anything on the market. And in this make your own gear forum, there was all these really competent individuals that like worked at all these places, because climbers and backpackers and paddlers, they all have this passion, but then you learn there's like lawyers and real estate agents and rocket scientists and like all this stuff. And so I designed and built a titanium and carbon fiber ice axe for my own personal use, and through the help with like all these people. I remember one of the guys in the forum, I'll never forget this. He was like, I'm an R&D engineer for Aldila Carbon Fiber in the States. We make all the shafts for Nike. And, to get a custom carbon fiber shaft would probably be like $50,000. He's like, I will do it in our spare time for you. Just give me a couple axes. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like just, for fun. So I built the ice axe and came back from my trip, and then everybody was asking for it. So I put up a website in 2008, and I just had a single item on it, the ice axe. And I sold like 20 of them the first year. And I remember telling my wife, I made like $2,500 or something like that. And I remember telling my wife, if I can make $2,000 a year on the side, because I had a full-time job at the time, I can pay for like a vacation for us every year, and it won't take away from our income. So to me, the $2,500 was kind of like a success. And then it sort of stemmed from there. So then over the years, I was kind of like looking at what's available. And I'm like, well, I'm an engineer and I can do stress analysis and calculations and manufacturing and all that type of stuff. So probably in 2010, 2 years later, is when I rented like I actually rented a garage, like a storage unit with power. And I purchased at that time, I had like a lathe and a milling machine and sandblasters and stuff like that. So I started manufacturing small batches of just weird things. And these are like more simpler products that we do now, because now we've got a pretty big supply chain and stuff like that. And so then over the years, it's kind of every year kind of grew a little bit. And then in 2015, I was still working full time. And at this point, I was like a general manager of like a kind of like a big company sort of thing. Because it had been, I was 40-ish or so. Yeah, maybe not 40, 38. And the interest kept growing, and then I started getting people reaching out for like retailers, and I was like, I've never done like retail packaging. I have no idea how to do this kind of thing. And then I met an individual in the States named Devin, and he had a little startup company, because when you're like in the outdoor industry, you're kind of friends with other companies. So, like Adotech or the Agua guys, we'll call them up when we're dealing with like all the tariff stuff that's happening right now. There's kind of like a little bit of us. We're like competitors, but we're kind of not, what I mean? Like there's lots of room in the industry for small Canadian businesses. So we kind of work together. And so retailers were chatting me, and I had a company down in the States reach out to me that kind of said, we love what you're doing, but we can kind of tell you don't know what you're doing. And so and I was like, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing. So then they put together like a little bit of a marketing plan. That's sort of when I launched, like, I didn't even know about Instagram and all that type of stuff, so they launched all that stuff. They did proper product photos. We redid the website. And then by about 2018, 2019, is when I was like, okay, it's big enough that I have to start making some adjustments. So then I partnered with a company for a few years where they were doing their own work and I was doing my own work. And so we would share a facility, and then things didn't work out. It's just like two CEOs trying to work together. We're bumping heads and whatnot. So then in 2021, got my own unit, and then fully on my own now. So
that's awesome.
That's the story. And so Yeah, do you need to be an engineer? I mean, it certainly helps for sure, but there's lots of companies that just got a great idea, and you pay an engineer to do some of the more technical stuff.
So we're just
You know. So, oh, and I want to. Sorry, one more thing I want to tell you really quickly because everyone always asks. So, Suluk 46, the 46 that everybody always asks. So, and I had to come up with a name in 2008, and I had started. So the company was actually used to be called EvTech because my last name is Evans, and it was technology. So Evans Technologies. So I started EvTech, and then over the years, it was like I don't know if this is such a good name for a company. So I came up with the name in 2008, but never incorporated it, and then I actually changed my incorporated name. I can't remember when. This is like a decade later or something. So Suluk is like like an Inuit name, like a Western Arctic dialect for the Inuit. It means feather. It can actually translate to a couple different things, but when I was thinking of it, I'm like, well, I wanted to call it like, something lightweight because we do lightweight stuff, but I wanted to kind of like have an ode to like, the original ultralighters of Canada, like the ones that can kind of survive off the land. And, when I think of the Inuit lands and the northern peoples and whatnot, I was always kind of like, I valued what they valued. So I chose a word. Actually went through a big process of contacting some of like the communities to make sure it was like that it was right, it was correct. I didn't want to use like an incorrect term. So Suluk, and the number 46 is the line of latitude that runs across Silver Peak in Killarney Provincial Park. And when I was younger, this is going to sound so crazy. So my father passed away when I was in high school. It was pretty tragic, of cancer. And our dream, like when I was younger, I'd always be like, Dad, one day I want to go and climb Silver Peak. And to me, Silver Peak was Mount Everest. You know what I mean? You're in grade 6. And I never got to do it. So then I was like, oh, I want to like put this in my company name. And I remember I was driving by it like, or I saw like a gas station in the States, and I saw that 76 gas station with the little logo in the corner. And I was like, I'm going to call my graphic arts buddy. And I got a buddy named Trevor Bowman who does graphic arts. I told him my idea and I sketched it out. And he's like, sick, let me put a logo together for you. And that's where they came from. And the name is super hard to pronounce, and everyone kind of pronounces it differently, but it's Suluk 46. And I don't know if it was a good idea, but it's
great because I've known you for a little while now, and I've certainly known of you for even longer than that. And I've always kind of wondered, like, where the hell did that come from? What? Yeah,
just assumed that was your last name.
Yeah, at some point I probably did too.
Yeah, I don't know why. There was a lot of thought put into it. I just don't know if it was like a good thought process or not, but it was well thought out. Excellent. At the time.
No, it's a good one, and it is. You're right. It's unusual enough to stick in somebody's head. Like it's, you can have the easy peasy ones, and then you're trying to scratch your head, going, I can't remember what the name is, but that yours sticks. I like it. What? So you started with the ice axe. What did you sort of get into after that?
Yeah. So, I this might not be verified info. I'd have to go back and check, but I remember another, like kind of like when a light went off. So the ice axe was like, I'd never even thought about starting a website and selling it. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should like do this. So I did it. And then I was thinking of kind of my next product. And there was some times when I was actually like, I used to sell, this is so weird, like sleeping mats and stuff. I used to get like sleeping mats made by, there's actually a company in Ontario that will do it. And so I got them to make it. It was kind of like a little bit of a flop. Like you can't compete with Thermarest and those guys. But I remember another big part of the business was me reading through some forums in like, I don't know, must have been like 2010, 2011. I think around 2011, because I remember I launched a titanium trowel, which was a pretty simple product to make. And the reason why I did it was I had seen a company in the States. I have no idea who it would have been at this point. And they said that they had an ad on the forum, and it was like, for celebrating our 1,000th trowel sale of the year. And they had some special. And in my mind, I was like, that guy sold 1,000 trowels in a year? I'm like, it's the easiest, like, and in my mind, I was like, it's not even that good. Like, I could totally make a better trowel. So I went down, like, designed it all up and made it all funky and whatnot. It's evolved huge. I still sell trowels. It's still a huge product for us, but it's very different. But I remember that was a big thing where I'm like, oh, maybe I can sell more than like 100 items a year. Maybe I can sell 1,000 sort of thing. So I think it was probably the trowel. I know I did a wood stove, which we call the Una stove, which doesn't have a huge following in the canoeing community or like the climbing or whatever, but for people who are on long trips, fuel becomes like a big issue when you're doing like a 3-month trip or something. That actually, even for me, when I go do like a 3-week trip or something up north, it's really hard to manage fuel because you're just bringing so much in. So if you have like a small twig stove. So I used to make this little, I don't even have one around here, but a really small twig stove. And I remember the leading brand at the time was called the Bush Buddy. And it was a guy named Fritz. I think he was out in BC or something. And he seemed at the time, this is 15 years ago, right, as the guy. And he was making stainless steel versions. And I contacted him and said, I want to make a titanium version. And he wasn't interested in working with me. So then I was like, okay, well, I'll make my own. So then I made my own titanium version. And then an interesting thing with that, there's a company called Enlightened Equipment that's actually quite big now down in the States. They make lightweight like sleeping bags and stuff. And I remember me and him had worked together on a project a couple of years ago, and he had contacted me and was like, I really like that stove. I want to carry them in my store. And I was like, this is around coming back to the 2015 where I was like, retail products? Like, I don't even know how I got to get like a UPC code. Like, how do you do this? So, and then from there, I don't remember, because we have about 40 some odd products at this point. We do the all different variations of pot lifters. We have the saws, we have a bunch of the stoves, and we've retired products over the years. I used to do a lot of alcohol stoves, but with the popularity, like as technology changes, canister stoves are really good now. There used to not be really good lightweight canister stoves. So everybody was using like alcohol and esbit and wood. So we're slightly moving away from that, focusing a little bit more on the heavier technology stuff. But that's sort of the process went between pot lifters, saws. I'm thinking what else I got here. Carbon fiber stuff. Some tent stakes are really good. We won some awards on the tent stakes. Those came out sometime in like 7 or 8 years ago.
Little side note on the tent stakes. Thomas has determined that we're going to go to every show that you're at for the next about 7 years so he can collect enough free tent stakes from you so that we can start stake our tent.
That was at the Hamilton Outdoor Adventure Show. I made like 400 defects. Like they were slightly defective, and I was like, oh, I can't sell these. What do I do with them? And my wife was like, just give them away. And I was like, all right, cool. So I just gave them away. Yeah, there'll be more coming out because I've got every time you make like a couple thousand of them, you've got like a bunch that are all kind of like not pretty or just have like just can't be included.
Well, you'll see them at the next handful of shows. Right cool. On. So cool. I see that you've got 2 different types of saws. You've got a buck style, and then you've got I don't know what you call it. I always think of it as like a hand saw because it's a flip out, right? And it's much smaller. It's a single sort of deal. Yeah,
there's a good story of that as well, and this is probably pretty typical because I go on a lot of trips each year. Like I take several months off each year to go on trips. So most of the gear that I sell, I use. Like, if there's ever a time that I won't really use the gear, I might stop selling it unless it's just like selling like crazy. But I think there's a lot of people like me. And I was looking for, I never wanted a saw. Well, I shouldn't say I never wanted a saw. The saw that I had when I used to canoe was quite large. It was a big saw. And so I just wanted something small. And so I made the first saw. We call it the Uki buck saw. And I don't have one here either. But I made one and I used it for probably like a year and a half just on my own. Like I just designed it and kind of made it. And then I'm making YouTube videos and stuff. People are asking for it. So I'm like, okay, well, I was never going to bring a saw to the market because I didn't think, backpackers would really use a saw. So I designed it as light as possible. It's ridiculously light. It weighs like 5 ounces. Like it's the same weight as a Snickers bar, but it's small, right? It's small. And at the time, so I brought it to market and then I gave it out to a bunch of people to try. And I think it was Martin Pine Martin, he's from Huntsville. I sent him, I'm pretty sure it was him. I sent him one and he gave me a bunch of feedback on it. And he's like, hey, have you ever seen like these Silky style saws? And I was like, yeah, I have. And I had a couple because I think they're great, whatever. But I didn't think I thought people preferred a buck saw. Like I thought most people would have preferred a buck saw. So I was kind of focused on that. But I also didn't want to make a huge buck saw. And so then I started working on just the little pole saw one, and actually the relationship between us and Silky, because they actually supplied the blades to us. I was talking with them yesterday actually. I contacted them originally to manufacture for me like a private label saw. So I contacted them and said, will you guys make me because Silky's, I feel like, is the best blade, but they're very expensive. I said, can you guys make me a private label one? And he said, no. Well, not he, but I guess they went to their superiors or whatnot, and they said no. And so then I made the Gomboy 240, which is like I think it's a 9-inch blade. And the general goal with that is to take a Silky saw, use the blade, but cut the weight in half. So if you've got a 1 pound saw, I'll make it half a pound kind of thing. So I started with the 240, which I feel like is a pretty good, like if you're on like the trip I just did with my wife, which was like a 6-day canoe trip in Killarney, I brought my huge saw because we're like having almost irresponsible fires, drinking wine and making steaks and stuff. But and not really irresponsible, completely responsible, but just quite large for typical, like bigger than in my solo stuff. So the 240 would be like for somebody who's doing some pretty heavy portages and whatnot. And then because of the following of the business is mostly backpackers, like ultralight, the kind of bringing a big saw is not even on their list. The next one I did was the 130, which is the little handheld one. And then I just right now, I'm just making prototypes right now of the 500, which is the huge one, which is, so it's a, I don't know if it's going to fit. Yeah. That's actually carbon fiber if that comes up. Yeah. So this is kind of like everybody was making, all the people so the 240 was generally, and the 130 was generally focused on sort of people either doing like really big trips or huge portages that were watching the weight of their gear, but it started to spill into a little bit more traditional, like camping trip type things. So I was getting a lot of, not pressure, but interest in making just a very large, like winter bushcraft saw. And so, I've made 5 or 6 prototypes, and the blades, that's why I was talking to Silky yesterday, and the blades will be coming like in the next week, and those will go out. So I'll give them out to all the YouTubers, the Xanders, the Maxims, the Joes, and whoever else will take one and do a test. And then probably at the Hamilton Outdoor Adventure Show or the Outdoor Adventure, so we usually launch a product. Yeah,
production's made up. So and just to speak to the saw, I would, judging if that's a 500, I would say it's probably the 240. Although you might know better. Jay from Beauty of the Backcountry, he was processing. We were on a trip with him recently, and he was processing. He doesn't sit down well. Just saying, he's in motion. But he was processing a bunch of wood, and he was just like juke 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 done, juke 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 done. And so I was like, holy crap, man, that thing is something. It must just rock through that stuff. So pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the Silky blades, and we actually have our own blades as well. We haven't released them, but Silky was having a supplier issue with us where they couldn't keep up with the amount of blades that we were selling. So then we actually went to Switzerland and got, Sweden, not Switzerland, Sweden, and got blades manufactured for it. So we also have a private label blade that's a little bit more economical, and that'll launch, in the next couple months or something like that. So when you go to the website, you'll have a choice. You can either buy the Silky blade, because one of the biggest complaints we get is the Silky blade, if you ever try and buy one, like even a replacement blade for the 240 is $75 at Mountain Equipment Co-op, because it's very, very expensive, obscene, So there's people that just don't require a $75 blade.
That would be me.
A $20 blade would be fine.
Just need to get through.
Yeah. So
cool. Is there any one product in particular that you enjoy making the most, or enjoyed the designing process, or like all the math and all that sort of jazz? What's
your favorite?
What's your favorite?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a favorite, but I definitely, I have people ask me about starting your own business and things like that. And I generally tell them I'm a bad person to ask because I started it by accident. It's not like I had like a business plan and did all this stuff, but I really like engineering, which is weird. And I used to do a lot of school back in the day, like when I was sort of like more in the corporate world. I used to do a lot of school presentations on engineering. I'd go to like high schools and stuff like that and tell people like what being an engineer is like. And I always told them like, if you don't love engineering, don't become an engineer, because it's like when you get into work generally, depending on what you work. I mean, now I'm a little bit more diverse. I do a whole bunch of stuff. But when I was working as like a mechanical engineer for Atomic Energy of Canada, there was a time like you would get to work at 8:00. And you engineer until 5:00, and then you go home and you wake up in the morning. And engineering is like you're designing stuff, you're doing stress analysis, you're doing calculations for bolts and loads and that type of stuff. So I have a sickness where I love doing that, which is really weird. I know. When I tell people that, they're like, really? I'm like, me and my wife will go on vacation. We go on vacation every year, usually somewhere like just after the trade shows. And I will literally be on the beach drinking a beer and designing something. I know, isn't that crazy? I love it. It's so much fun. And my wife is just like bobbing in the water with a cocktail, and I will design products like just in my spare time because I like it so much. So if you don't like, it's probably a pain in the butt for other people. I really enjoy it. And then I also love like making prototypes and testing them. So I think there's might be a benefit in that I spend so much time outdoors that I can identify market needs maybe a little bit easier than somebody that just has like an idea, might not spend a lot of time in the outdoors. And then my preliminary testing is generally done by me. So I generally will make a product, design it, the more challenging, the better. So I love doing the saw. I love doing the big 500. That was a big challenge. The ice axe was a big challenge. And then, going out in the field, working it to death until I have to make some changes. And then I generally do a small batch run, 10 to 15 and give it to a bunch of people to test. And then I'll do, the launch after that. So no specific product, but the more complex, the better.
Well, and the grill that we have is pretty cool.
It is. It's.
Do you want to tell people about it?
Sure. So we have a grill that weighs. You can tell me how much it weighs or how much it weighs.
Oh, off the top of my head, I don't know.
It weighs nothing.
I don't know. Here.
Oh, he's looking for one. So we'll put it on a scale.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, I have a scale here. I do too.
Yeah.
That's the one you have. That's the large. It's 168
so
grams.
It fits in a tube.
In ounces.
Carbon fiber tube, by the way. It fits in a tube. It's about maybe the diameter of 3 pencils, all told. It's itty bitty.
Like a loonie maybe.
Probably smaller. I would say smaller than a loonie. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fits in a 3/4 inch tube.
Yeah, and it's awesome. Yeah. It's individual pieces. It's 2 long pieces for the outside edges, and then it's a whole bunch of cross pieces, and they alternate between. So they hook together. I don't think I can come up with a better explanation. That they have tabs that interlock, but they interlock one cross piece will interlock on the outside, the other cross piece, the next one will interlock on the inside, and they rotate back and forth like that. Alternate back and forth like that, and it's rock solid. Once you snap it all together, it's rock solid. You can do steaks over your fire, give it a quick swish, put it back in the teeny tiny tube that weighs nothing, stick it in your pack. You're not dragging, your dollar store beater piece of crap and leaving it at a campsite, because that seems to be a thing with people these
using
days.
a nasty grill
using a nasty rusted out one that's at the site when you show up. Yeah, so we're quite happy.
It's funny that you made the comment about the nasty grill. Like, this is sort of almost a good segue into how a product is developed. So me and my wife, we go on a big canoe trip every single year, usually about a week long, and it's fantastic because we bring really good food. We actually bring like ice. We bring like a small cooler, and we'll put like fish in it and stuff. That we'll get it all prepared. And we used to go to the site, and the grills were really gross, and I'm a little bit more rugged. Like, I can okay, whatever, it's not the best, but fire will probably sterilize it. My wife was like, she's like, can't you make like a clean grill that we can bring? And I was like, I'm not carrying a huge grill. So, and then we were literally just chatting about, this is years ago now. Well, not that long, but maybe 3 or 4 years ago when we started making the grills. And I was like, I wonder if you could make one that you could like take apart. And so the logic, because at the trade shows, some people see the grill and it's assembled and they're like, how do you assemble it? And I'll show them. They're like, that takes too long. And I totally get it. Like, if you get to a campsite and you need to eat within 3 minutes,
absolutely,
this is not the grill for you. It takes a couple minutes to put together. But the value is in that when it's not in use and you're moving, it doesn't dirty up your bag. It's small. It's super light. And then when you get to the campsite, you have to spend a little bit of time setting it up. So we used it for probably a year before I launched the product. Like, I would just bring it on our trips. And actually, we just got back from Killarney on Sunday. Today's Thursday. and we use it every single night. Yeah, it's a great little grill. So then that's a good example of, I guess, we're just out there. We just identify something that like the market needs, sort of thing, and then we make one.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got lots of stuff that has soot over it from me stuffing the dollar store one back into my pack. It's like, oh man, come on. So yeah, when we saw that, I want to say it was at the Toronto show, the Toronto Adventure Show. Yes, it was, and it was like, oh, we need that. We absolutely need that. So
yeah, the saws and the grills do quite well at the Toronto show, because it really is a canoeing show. That's a big canoeing show. We do some shows in the States, for example, to the US. I don't even know if we sell really many grills. Like, that's really a Canadian thing. Yeah. I feel like there's some grills for sure. Yeah, but like in Canada, it's weird. Like the pot lifters just don't sell up here. To the US, the pot lifters you can't keep them in stock. It's completely crazy, because it's a really big difference between like the ultralight backpackers and like the paddlers. I do both, so it doesn't bother me which way or another. But it's just a very different market.
Yeah, well, canoers, I mean, portages aside, you can carry a ton more gear. Like, it doesn't. It literally, if you're paddling, it doesn't matter. I have a 23-year-old that I take with me, so I don't care how much it weighs at all, because he can portage it. It's really not a big
deal. Totally. Your own personal mule.
He calls himself a Sherpa. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a better name.
He's a chauffeur and a Sherpa.
Better choice.
Chauffeur too. Yeah, I don't have to drive and stuff. That's great. Have a little nap.
He's great, actually. We hung out at the co-op when each night, actually, with Evan.
He's a good kid.
He's fun. He's good fun.
I'm very happy he continues to come with me, because literally 3 years ago, maybe, I bought a Solo, a 14 foot Q8, expecting I was going to be solo tripping, and I've used it like twice. He's used it more than I have, because he keeps coming. So it's like, that's awesome. I will trip with him as long as he's interested.
Oh, good. No, that's fantastic. It's, I mean, a father, son, and mom, like the family trip out in the Outback is incredible. Yeah, no, can't get anything better.
I suspect they come because I'm less yelly if I go on backcountry trips, right? I'm less stressed and stuff. So, well, let's keep them calm.
Less yelly.
That's exactly it's a full-time job, but I appreciate that you do it, sweetie.
But so product-wise, we've got the bigger saw coming out, and we're working on a. This might not resonate like very well or extremely well with the canoeing community, but right now there's a really big push on using something called have you heard of a flip fuel, where you refill gas canisters that you buy at the store? Bleed out older canisters, like partial canisters, and fill up another one instead. So you're taking one canister, not trying to take three of them with little dribs and drabs. Exactly. So we're actually working on I wonder if I have it here. Oh, I might be able to show you something, maybe an old prototype. We're working on a carbon fiber gas canister for stoves, which will definitely be our most complex product that we've ever made. Yeah, I have experience with TSSA regulation and pressure vessels from my time in the nuclear industry, because we used to do pressure. So when you're designing something that's going to hold pressure under certain circumstances, so it has to be a certain volume and a certain pressure. You're not just allowed to build one. Like, you can't just make a gas canister, because if it blows up, it's literally going to blow up in someone's hand. So there's all these regulations, and it's regulated by the TSSA. And I used to do this in the nuclear industry. So we're in like very, very early prototype phase. It might never come, but it's something that I've been working on for the last like 6 to 8 months in my spare time. It's not like a solid kind of thing, but what it will do is, instead, so you'll buy a gas canister, which is essentially disposable from like Mountain Equipment Co-op or Canadian Tire, whatever you get, and a lot of people are refilling them. But the valve, it's called a Lindell valve on those things, and the valve on those is rated for about like between 25 and 50 times. Like, you wouldn't be able to use it for 10 years. It would eventually leak, because it's just made of aluminum. So we're doing a carbon fiber shell with, we want to do titanium. So that way that you buy one of these canisters and you kind of can buy a very large one and just refill it over and over again. And this is, and then edit me back in now. So it'll look something, where's the camera? So it'll look something like that. This is just, so it's carbon fiber. Yep. I haven't done the top yet. Just got the actual, did the analysis of the actual carbon fiber itself. So we're working on that, which is going to be like a little bit of a game changer. That's probably more popular for backpacking and hiking. So you'll save the weight of the canister itself, and then it'll be refillable from larger canisters, which we hope you would like kind of be a little bit more efficient.
For sake of argument, like a 5-pound propane tank, but one with isobutane or something, so that you can fill it 18 times. Well, that'd be great. That's also, sorry, don't mean to sidetrack you there. That's way less canisters being chucked in the garbage, basically, because that's what those canisters aren't, refillable and stuff, right? So environmentally friendly.
Yeah. So the logic would, for sure. I mean, it would be great if you could go to like a gas station and fill them up like you can with the propane canister or whatever it is. But the logic is that you would just buy a really huge one, and then you would fill this one up as needed, and you would always have a full one. And so there'd be a whole bunch of benefits to it. So that's something that we're working on. The new saw is going to be released for this winter, and I think that's probably about it. And then you have to remember, it's like I have probably 50 things that are 10% done just over the years, and then you get sidetracked and you spend some time on that. But that's where the sort of big push is right now. And then it's just keeping up with demand. We're small. We're like 3 people. Like it's really tiny. If you go to a trade show, that's my whole family working the trade show. It's my wife, usually my sister, my brother-in-law loves to do it, and then sometimes some friends come and stuff like that. But it's generally, because it's kind of fun, it's generally like my family that you're meeting at that trade show. So cool. Yeah,
I think that's your wife and your brother-in-law now, so just your sister to go.
Yeah, my sister is she doesn't come she's not as easy to convince to work for free.
That's called slave labor.
So my wife loves it. Yeah. No, but my wife loves it because she has a background in economics, and she's just always, I'm usually a little bit more flustered, so she wants to handle all the sales and everything like that. And then my brother-in-law just is, he's just a super friendly, super good guy, and he just loves the trade shows, can't get enough of it. So, he'll probably be at the Hamilton Outdoor Adventure Show with me this year. Oh, and the Hamilton Outdoor Adventure Show is having a film festival on the Friday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's a little teaser. There's a video. One of my videos is going to be in it. I think, at least, I got confirmation just the other day. I won't tell you which one or whatever, but it's not one that's on YouTube. So it's pretty interesting.
Well, we're looking. So speaking of trips that you do, we're looking forward to still early stages of organizing things, but we're hoping to have you and Evan Lefebvre, come and do a live stream with us, somewhere out towards the back end of this year, and yak about a very cool trip that you both have done. Way too many bugs for me, but outside of that looked awesome. It's like I keep. There's a picture of you in the bug suit, and they're so thick. It's like, oh, you'd breathe that, you'd be just like, oh. I can't even imagine, man.
Yeah. So we'd love to join you for sure. We had a great time on that trip. It was very challenging. Weather conditions were tough, even just like physically tough. And the bugs ranged from, non-existent to some of the worst I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, it was like, I've just never seen it like that in my entire life.
Very cool experience. So I'm glad that you had the bug shoots. So win-win.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, what does the future hold for Silky 46?
Oh yeah. So this is a really interesting thing. I used to be like a little bit of a workaholic. Like if you talk to so I've been married to my wife forever, and I met her when I was in my early 20s, and I worked, 60 hours a week for 15 years. Like I was working, I used to come home 8 o'clock at night, leave at 6 a.m. There wasn't a Saturday that I didn't work that I felt like years. I mean, there was sure the odd thing. And then when I was in my like more corporate role as a general manager of kind of like a big company over an engineering company, if you called me at 2 o'clock in the morning, like I would answer my phone, and you had a problem with a piece of machinery, or Ontario Power Generation calls you and they've got an emergency. Like I was so committed to it. And so the reason why I kind of bring this up is I'm 48 now, and like my values have kind of completely changed over the years. It's not that I don't believe in I still have a work ethic. I still work a lot, but it's a little bit more enjoyable. But my goal with the business is not to ever work like that again. And so I have people often be like, oh, you should do this, you should do this. And I'm like, I take 3 months off a year, and sometimes I shut the business down for a month, and this would be mind blowing to a full entrepreneur. And I usually tell young people, I'm like, if you want the business, you can have it. Just keep me on payroll. Like I'm not going to turn it into like the type of life where I can't spend time with my family. So the priority for, until I, let's say, officially retire or whatever, is just to kind of ride this out, make some money, go on some trips, spend time with family and friends, and enjoy the rest of my life, to be honest. And then, I don't know, I'm sure somebody at some point will approach me and say, you're not doing a good job. Let me show you how to do it. And I will say, here you go, man. Show me the way. And that's the plan right now. So I have no idea what will actually happen.
That's excellent. Hire me. I want to come work the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well, that's one of the downfalls of taking all the time off and having a business like that is you don't make a ton of money.
I'm a building manager. I don't make a ton of money, so I'm down with that as well.
Yeah. I joke with my friends all the time, like when I started the business, I was a little bit younger and I was going to grind it out and turn it into like this huge corporation with hundreds of employees. And I would joke with all my friends like, oh, I'll put you guys on a payroll, but you don't have to do anything. And then the reality of a small business when you're just like a handful of people is like, it can be a little bit of a grind for sure, especially if you're planning on taking, significant time off and whatnot. So nothing would be happier than hiring everyone I know and having them just go on trips, but it's just like not in the cards right now. Give me a couple of years.
You, man.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for us for today. Thank you so much to Steve Evans from Suluk46 for joining us. And please do check him out. He's on all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, and the website is suluk46.com, SULUK46.com. Please do check us out. We are on all the social media too, and you can email us anytime. We're at hi@supergoodcamping.com. That's hi@supergoodcamping.com, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Oh, and also look for him at the Hamilton Adventure Expo, Toronto Outdoor Adventure Show, and another one that I don't know anything about, but Frostbite in Alberta. That'll be another show he'll be at. And that's it.
And maybe you'll get a free tent peg.
Free tent peg. Look for the defect free tent pegs. Send them to me.